This is Shine On, the Health and Happiness Show, an Ella's Leash production. Heard as a podcast around the world, but heard first on radio stations 100.7 WHUD FM and Real Country 920, 1260, and 1420 AM, all in New York's Hudson Valley. Shine On, bringing you healers and dreamers and people who want to make life richer. It's your time to shine on. Hi, it's Casey. Thank you for shining on today. Holiday time is upon us, and my advice for you is if you feel stressed, tense, or overwhelmed, keep it simple. I am incredibly grateful for a great big out loud life that I have on the radio. But my life off the radio, it is filled with simple abundance. Simple is key. And this is what I learned 25 years ago from Sarah Ban Breathnatch. Did you have the pink book, Simple Abundance? She just updated it. So get it now again or for the first time. You need a last-minute gift of substance that will have a lasting impact? Head out to the bookstore today and get Simple Abundance. 365 days to a balanced and joyful life. This may be a new story for you, or you may remember, as I do, how this little book that could got on the Oprah Winfrey Show. If you're waiting for something to come to fruition, may this story from Sarah Ban Breathnatch inspire. Take us back.
This is in November 1995. It had taken me 5 years to write Simple Abundance, and 2 of those years were spent being rejected by every publisher in America. But finally, after 30 rejections, I found an editor at Warner Books, Liv Bloomer. At the time, I wanted to do a lifestyle book because lifestyle books in the 90s were quite the thing. But Liv asked me if I'd do a daily inspirational book for women. I just thought that was preposterous because I was the woman that was seeking inspiration. I couldn't presume to give inspiration to other women. But my editor asked me to sleep on it and give it a thought. And so I did. I had already written for 2 years. I took the material and I broke it up into daily essays. And I was very stunned by the power of the small, especially for women, because we don't have much time. So it was published, I finished it 2 years later, and it was published in November 1995. And when it was published, the publicity department and my editor said, now, you know, this is going to be a woman's book. And it's what we call a slow burn. And it will depend on word of mouth. What that really meant, and it still means it today in publishing, they're euphemisms for no publicity. A woman's book doesn't get any publicity. Wow. A slow burn doesn't get any publicity. A word of mouth doesn't get any publicity, except maybe your local bookstore. So I had always felt that this collaboration for Simple Abundance was with the great creator. And I was just to do the work, and heaven would find the right publisher. So, but, you know, hearing this after 5 years, I was stunned and you know, heartbroken and didn't know what to do. So I ended up on my knees, you know, asking God, help me spread the word. I don't know. So the next day, I heard in my heart, send 30 books to the Oprah Winfrey Show, to every woman on her staff, so that we can get women talking about this book. So I went back to my publisher and asked them to do this. And this was before Oprah had her book club. Mm-hmm. So this was very strange. My publisher resisted for quite a while. Finally, I said, you know, I will pay for them, but if you will send them so that I don't seem like the needy writer that I really am right now. Finally, they said, no, we'll send them, and you don't have to pay for them. So they were sent to the Oprah Winfrey Show in December of 95. About a week later, we heard from a producer who said, you know, we love the book. The women, our staff is just loving the book, but it's really not a show. And that's what they told me. And I said, well, someday Oprah will pick it up, and she'll read something that speaks to her, and then it'll become a show. So I was incredibly disappointed, as you can imagine. And now we're into January 1996, and the conversations at home are, you know, isn't it time you found a real job? And so school had resumed, and I was taking my daughter Kate to school, and as I was crossing the parking lot, another mother rushed up to me, and she had so much to tell me. She grabbed my shoulders and she said, "Oh, Sarah, thank you so much for writing Simple Abundance. My mother-in-law is a pediatric heart surgeon, but she's given it up because she loses little ones all the time, and she can't do it any longer." And she said, "But we gave her Simple Abundance for Christmas. And guess what, Sarah? She's going back to the operating room because she knows that these are her authentic gifts." Both of us, our eyes just welled with tears, and it was such a profound moment. When I was walking away from the encounter, I said, God, Simple Abundance has always been your book. I was just the one who wrote it. Thank you for giving me that assignment. But I surrender all attachment to how it reaches its audience. And I did. And about 2 weeks later, we got a call. And Oprah had seen the book in her makeup room and said to herself, "What is this pink book I keep seeing all around the studio?" And she opened it and she read something that touched her and invited me to come to the Oprah show. And at that time, Oprah had a program that she did occasionally called People I'd Like to Have Dinner With. And she selected the guests. And I was one of the people. There were three people. We went to Chicago. I asked if I could bring my 13-year-old daughter to work with me. And that was the ultimate bring your daughter to work trip.
Right.
And we checked in to our hotel on Michigan Avenue. Before I go any further in the story, I have to tell you that in 1993, as I was writing, and I was in the midst of the whole thing, I took a New York Times bestseller list, and I whited out the number one book that week, and I typed in Simple Abundance, and I dated it for June 1996. And I also had a postcard of a painting. It was by Robert Spear Dunning, a Victorian American painter, and it was called Basket of Cherries. And it has showed a shaker, hat, bonnet for a woman, and a hat for a man, and a basket that was overflowing with the most beautiful ripe cherries you could imagine, and it was on the grass. Well, this was an iconic picture for me because it represented what Simple Abundance was. So for 2 years, I'm looking every morning when I begin. I'm looking at the Harvest of Cherries, and I'm looking at the New York Times bestseller list for June 1996 that I'm going to be number one at. Now we're back to the night before I go on to Oprah. And Kate and I, the Terra Museum of American Art was right near our hotel on Michigan Avenue. And so we went in it. She rushed ahead to see some pictures, and I turned into the second floor gallery, and there was nobody there. And on the wall, beautiful and large, breathtaking, was Robert Spear Dunning's painting, A Harvest of Cherries.
There's your finish line. There's your finish line. You made it.
I made it.
My
and
gosh.
Yes. And it was confirmation. I call it now, reflecting back, I call Simple Abundance the journey of unanswered prayers. Because every step of the way, there was some blockage or the prayer wasn't answered. But really, the prayer was answered. It was just saying, not yet, keep going.
Not
keep
yet.
going.
A delay is not a denial. I
Denial.
love that story. Simple Abundance, 365 days to a balanced and joyful life. Of course, I got a copy that year, and I still have my copy. And it was so different and so life-saving. And sometimes you only got 2 minutes in the morning to read it, and it could change your whole day. And I know being on Oprah Winfrey changed your whole life. You were on more than once, weren't you?
Oh, yes, I was on many times, maybe 11, 12, and I've also been on Soul Sunday.
Oh.
So during that time, I was, yes, a frequent guest.
I remember her telling the story, like, what is this book I keep seeing all over? And it was yours, and now it's ours. And now it's all these years later, and here we are again. What do you want to say about what's out there now?
This is the 25th anniversary of Simple Abundance, which is just staggering to believe in the first place. But the reason that I came back was that I started hearing a few years ago from Millennial and Generation X women who would write me and say, I was at my mom's, and I picked up the pink book she used to be carrying all the time and that she loved, and I just opened it up, and it really spoke to me. But when I got to the end of the chapter, suddenly the joyful simplicities were very dated. I was recommending ordering a mail order catalog or watching a VHS movie. And they said, now we order online and we stream our movies. So that always jars us. Can you update it for younger women? And I got so many requests that I thought, okay, let's do this. And so I started, but, I always say that, the great creator, heaven has a need to know policy, because I thought it was going to be, they're pretty straightforward, and I was just going to refresh the joyful simplicity throughout the book. But when I started, I really needed to go back to the foundation. And the reason for that, Casey, is the world we're living in now, 24/7 breaking news, the constant real time where we're sucked into, an appalling natural disaster that we can't do anything about, or a terrorist atrocity we can't do anything about. But what happens, we're hostage to, we can't take our eyes away from it. And so we walk away, and it's compounded by our helplessness, by our feelings of helplessness. You take that, no relief from that, ever during the day. And you combine it with social media and the mirage, the heartbreaking mirage of, what started with keeping in touch with our friends and knowing what they were doing and everything has exploded. It's not even recognizable from what it was intended to be. And I think women are suffering because they are constantly comparing themselves to women on Instagram. Scroll and click, and they're seeing lives that they desperately want, but they don't have. They don't have it, Casey, because it's not real. They don't have it because it took hairstylists, it took food decorators, it took all of those people working full-time, probably for 2 days. The reason I know it is I was featured in Good Housekeeping one year for Christmas and in Victoria Magazine another year. That was lovely, but I tell my reader, it's make-believe because I didn't do it.
And I had a girlfriend email me the other day. She says, I need an intervention because I think I'm addicted to this Instagram and Facebook. She feels like she has to check it every morning, We need simple abundance again. We need it again.
I really do. My aim in Simple Abundance is to wean my reader away from the devices and the online. To bookend your day, just bookend your day. I know we're all busy in the morning getting to work or whatever, but don't turn on the news the first thing you get up. Have your cup of tea and coffee and collect yourself. And I pray and I read a meditation. I read something that inspires me in the morning. And then at night, turn it off, 8 p.m. Just have the silence. Remind yourself. Remember what the silence was like. And don't fall asleep with the laptop, the green light from the computer. Don't do that. You can just do these little things, and then the most important part of Simple Abundance, the gratitude list, and write down 3 things that you're grateful for that happened that day. And it might be turning the computer off. It might have been a terrible day. You might have didn't know how you made it through the day. And you know what? So you write on your gratitude journal, day is over and I'm going to bed and tomorrow is another start. We can always find something to be grateful for. And what I wanted to do in the companion book, the Journal of Gratitude, is I wanted to talk more, because I hadn't 25 years ago, I wanted to talk more about the power of gratitude. It is not passive. It is dynamic. It is passionate. It is transformational. It's always there waiting for us. We don't have to feel grateful for gratitude to work for us. I wish that the lessons that I'd learned over the last 25 years hadn't included detours and heartbreak and everything else, but gratitude helped me redeem them in reflecting back and going forward.
What do you mean that we don't have to feel gratitude to have it work for us?
When we're in terrible circumstances and we're angry and we're mad, there are all kinds of reasons. Usually we don't feel grateful when circumstances are stacked against us. And this is the trick. This is the trick, which I sort of thought for a while. We don't have to be happy when we use gratitude. We just have to say, I don't know why, but thank you that you will help me get through this. thank you, some way that you will help. When we go back, there's an entire book in the Bible called the Book of Lamentations. That entire book is about people crying to the Lord about how unfair their world was and how heartbroken they are. They're not happy, but they're crying out for help. That's what gratitude does for us. I've had more miracles in my life happen after I said, okay, all right, thank you. I don't want this, but thank you. I'm calling you a blessing. That's a trick. That's a trick.
Ooh, I'm calling you a blessing.
Calling you a blessing. Sometimes I'm like a crazy woman ought to be saying, I'm calling you a blessing. I'm calling you a blessing.
And you open up the energy. You don't close the door and shut down. You call it a blessing, and you open up the energy for heaven to intervene.
Yes, exactly. So I wanted to share those, deeply personal lessons, but they're personal, but they're meant to be shared.
And we want everybody to go out and buy this book for somebody for the holidays. Simple Abundance, a day book of comfort and joy. Also, your new #1 bestseller, Something More, Excavating Your Authentic Self, and the Simple Abundance Journal of Gratitude. You just look for Sarah's name, and Sarah's going to pronounce it for us one more time.
It's pronounced Sarah Ban Breathnatch, but I answer to Sarah. Yes, I answer to Sarah Ban Breathnatch. That's because you just
Ban Breathnatch. I see it now. I'm taking out the TH, and I'm calling it Ban Breathnatch. What nationality is that? Gaelic. Oh, it's Gaelic. Well, that explains it.
Yes, that explains a lot.
Yes, it sure does. Simple Abundance, everybody knows that. And Sarah Ban Breathnatch, I'm delighted to have this time with you again. Where can we all go for more information?
It looks like sarahbanbreathnatch.com. You can look for the official Simple Abundance Facebook. You can just Google in Simple Abundance, and you'll be led to my website. And at your bookstores, your local bookstores, or wherever they sell books, Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Just can't wait to meet new people.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. We're so grateful for you.
Oh, thank you so much. Merry Christmas, and just a wonderful, bountiful, blessed New Year for you.
25 years later, Sarah Ban Breathnatch, Simple Abundance, still changing the world. And speaking of changing the world, we did a little of that this year ourselves. Talking to all kinds of people, getting new ideas, trying some different things. I hope something that you've heard in this past year or over the years has touched you and made your life a little better. And we're looking forward to the new year. We have a lot going on. Coming up on January 11th, we have a quick little one-day seminar. It's actually just an afternoon from 1 to 3 p.m., Saturday, January 11th. Live your best life in the new year. Come to that at Mariandale in Ossining. Then our first weekend retreat is February 28th through March 1st, also at Mariandale. And then we have the Women at the Well series. 3 days at Graymore, February 1st, April 4th, June 6th. Come to them all or pick a day that works for you. That's at Graymore in Garrison. And before you know it, summer retreats again, August 14th through 16th at Graymore in Garrison, and August 21st through the 23rd at Mariandale in Ossining. You can find out all about everything we do at casey.co, and if you ever want me to come to you and do an event, I would be happy to. Just get in touch. Now, coming up in March, I hope everyone will join us for the Let It Shine Inc. kickoff party. You know, we launched the foundation this year. Let It Shine Inc. is out there now, gathering love so we can give it away. We're fundraising, and you can find all the fundraising links at casey.co. We're just raising money so we'll be able to help women in need in Westchester and the Hudson Valley. And not just in times of trouble. We also want to help make women's dreams come true. Maybe you know someone who really needs an art class, but that dream is just out of reach. Or maybe they need new tires so they can get to work. These are things that Let It Shine Inc. will help with. And as we go forward, I'm sure we're going to learn all of the many things we haven't thought about yet and the million ways we can help. We're gathering love, we're giving it away, and you can help by having a Let It Shine Again pop-up shop. We're having a series of pop-up thrift stores. So you can have one at your home, you can have one at your business, get your friends together, get your best stuff from the attic and the basement, and sell it. You get to keep at least 70% of that and donate 30% back to the Let It Shine Foundation. So you make a little money, we make a little money, all boats rise. Let It Shine Again, or Lisa Boutiques, pop-up shops, another opportunity for women to do good for themselves and do good for each other at the same time. Okay, I'm Casey. I love you. Thank you so much for listening, whether you've been listening for a long, long time or you just found me yesterday. I'm grateful. Subscribe to the podcast, please. Rate the podcast, please. And have yourself a merry little Christmas and a happy new year. I'm leaving you with a special song that my niece, Haley Jane Rose, wrote. Haley Jane is a singer-songwriter, and she and two of her best friends, Anna and Jen, they call themselves Boy Band. They sing as a trio all over New York City. And Haley wrote a little Christmas song this year. It's called Christmas Eve Song. And I'll leave you with that and my best wishes. And, of course, before we go, our thought for the day. It's from Bob Hope, who said, "My idea of Christmas, whether old-fashioned or modern, is very simple. Loving others. Come to think of it, why do we have to wait for Christmas to do that?" Shine on. Here's Boy Band with Christmas Eve Song.
When the city streets all but empty and the leaves have fallen off the trees, I'll be ruminating fondly on the yesterdays of Christmas Eve. And don't be worried about my lonely. My nostalgia's plenty company. You'll find me ruminating fondly on the yesterdays of Christmas Eve. And I'm unsure if I'm too old for magic, the kind that keeps you all aglow till the morning hits and you're as certain as the ground beneath the snow. And all the glitter at the party couldn't bring me back my childish dreams. So I'll be ruminating fondly on the yesterdays of Christmas Eve. And I'm unsure that it can truly ever be as simple as years ago, when my father tucked me in and I slept with one eye set on the window. And I'm not saying that I'm unhappy, celebrating what will be. I'll just be always chasing memories of the yesterdays of Christmas Eve. I'll just be always chasing memories of Christmas Eve.
You've been listening to Shine On, the Health and Happiness Show, for your entertainment only. Heard Sunday mornings on 100.7 WHUD and on Real Country's 920, 1260, and 1420 AM, all in New York's Hudson Valley. Subscribe to Shine On iTunes and SoundCloud, and catch a show anytime at casey.co. That's KACEY.co. Shine On.